Today we are going to discuss how to overcome fear and not let it control you. But first I'm going to take you back to 5 years ago when I started off college. I'll set the scene for you. Freshman year of college, 18-year-old girl who has always lived with her parents. I'm ready to experience the new world, the new me. So I'm enjoying classes, making friends, and then finals weeks come along and then the stress hits. And so I decide I am now afraid of failing my classes. I have this big presentation. I'm scared of public speaking. And so for the last month of before Christmas break, I lived my life in fear. And I did not fully enjoy my college experience like I know I should be. So during Christmas break, I took those 3 weeks to really just self-reflect and understand, where am I coming from? So I decided to take a look back and say, well, what am I realizing, what's controlling this fear of mine of failing grades? I go to class, I do my work, but yet I'm still having this fear and it's not letting me fully enjoy my life experience. So I just self-reflected on that. And then I self-reflected on all my other fears, and I realized, okay, this is the time, this is it, I'm going to start living my life fearlessly. And so I go back to college, and I'm just loving this fearless thing. I'm looking up tattoo ideas, faith over fear, fearless, be fearless, posting that everywhere, really enjoying life, and I let go of things. There's the fear of public speaking. I started to understand that, I'm going to have to do this, so I have to face my fear, and so for that, I'm going to have to just prepare myself. And then I came to a conclusion that I want to live my life fearlessly, and I think that's the best way to live my life, and I still agree with that. But I'm never going to not be able to have fears. They're always going to be in the back of my head. That's the way humans are made. We've been having fears since we were little. I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of a storm. So I realized that I'm not going to be able to control the fears, or not going to be able to control my mind and having fears, but I can control the way I handle those. And so the way you can handle fear, or what I have learned, is to really just self-reflect on what your fear is. So I'm going to give you an example. My best friend, she's terrified of frogs. When we're outside and it's the rainy season, spring, she'll hop on my back and I will have to carry her to the car because she is so afraid of frogs. So I was talking to her about this and I was saying, why do you think you are afraid of frogs? What do you think, I don't understand, they don't have teeth, they're not going to bite your leg off, but why do you have this fear? She was like, well, because when I was little, I was stuck in, I was in this little tub playing outside and I looked around and there were 6 huge bullfrogs beside me. And that has just been in my mind ever since. And so I'm just afraid I don't want to be around them. I'm like, okay, we can understand that, but let's take a little bit longer look and think, how can we overcome this fear? Let's think about what frogs are actually going to do to you. So we know that frogs are slimy and gross, but can they hurt you? No. Okay, perfect. Now what can we do if you see a frog? She would have panic attacks when she saw frogs. So now what can we do? Now how can we prepare ourselves to see this frog? So if you see a frog, what are you going to do about it? I'm just going to walk by, think to myself, this cannot bother me. And so then she's going to reduce her fear and start living life and not enabling herself to go places. And so that's a small kind of gesture, but for what I think that we can really work as people thinking about fear, is if you're having a fear, that you can just, to overcome that, really self-reflect and dig into why you think you're having this fear. And then to overcome that fear and not let it control your life, you can prepare. So I am afraid of public speaking, but today I prepared what I want to speak about. I know that I want to help people overcome their fears and let them start living life fearlessly. And so now that I have that, I'm no longer afraid of what this public speaking is going to do. So I think that the big point is fear is always going to be around, but it's how we handle fear and how it can, and the way we handle fear can help it decide if it's going to control our lives or if we're going to live with it